Hey, good morning, everybody. It is January 2nd, 2019. See, I didn't mess that up. Today's about vulnerable. If I look like I've been drinking, I haven't. It was tears. So I have no idea. Diving into meditation and doing an hour plus, sometimes 2 hours, pretty close to 2 hours most days. That's like 20 hours I've spent over in meditation. Man, some stuff comes up pretty quick. And today was one of those days. So, hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's all just take a second. It's January 2nd. Let's just take a second, take a big breath in, close your eyes for just a second. And be aware of just you, the body, and just listen to it as we go through this morning, because that's what was coming up to me this morning, is that sometimes we get busy, right? Now that the week has started back, the year has started back since the vacation, since the holidays and all of that stuff, and maybe there's still some stuff going on, but now it's like we got to dive back in. And I think when we dive back in, something that showed up for me this morning was, what was I diving from? So just sit with that for just a second. Where are you feeling that? What are you seeing? What's got you excited? Here's the funny thing about being excited. It's the same body that we also use for when we're fear, and recognizing the difference between the two. That there is none. It's just us. Whew. Okay, so yikes. Okay, so here, I got to tell you, it took me like 15 minutes to post the slides this morning, and not because it took 15 minutes. I just kept fighting with my ego to actually post them. So then I created this little presentation here. So we'll see. Can you all see that screen? I can't see y'all because when I go into presentation mode, it all disappears. So
no, we can't.
You can't. Okay. Oh, because I didn't do share screen. Thank you. See, that's the ego coming up into me, going, "You don't want to do this. You don't want to do this." So let's try this again. Let me do desktop. Share. Okay. Tell me if you see this now. Do you see that now?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Elaine. Vulnerable. Here's the funny thing. It took me like 3 minutes to get spell check. I had to actually go into and say it into, because I couldn't even spell it, which might have been a clue. The feeling of raw, real, authentic wonder. See, I think some of the times when, and again, this stuff came to me and I'm typing it, and I wasn't even aware of some of the stuff that was happening while I was typing this stuff. But being vulnerable is one of the things I know, guys, we have a very large tendency to never want to be that. We see it as weakness. And this morning it just kept coming to me. What are you doing? And I didn't know, right? We lose our titles, we lose our identities with things that we've tagged ourselves with, right? Hashtag. And some of the hashtags I've had as a coach, as a network marketer, as a leader, as a speaker, as a trainer. And part of me was like, are you really? Or have you just been out long enough, right? Even a rotten stump will still show up in a field, just because nobody's decided to knock it down or chew it up or get rid of it. So There was a lot of emotions coming up for me this morning. And so what are the ideas that keep us from being seen? What are the ideas that we're using as a jacket, as an umbrella, as Brene Brown puts it, as armor? Because, well, I'm not doing that because I have to do this, because I have to do that, or the yeah, but disease. And I loved one time listening to Bob Proctor, dis-ease is a body not at ease. So dis-ease. So what are some of the things, and I'd encourage you, since we really can't see each other, we're looking at this slide, what are some of the things that keep you from being seen? What is this? I'm 53 years old, young, 53. Age is time is a measure of age, or age is a measure of time. How old would you be if you didn't know how old you were? I don't feel that I'm 53. I know I don't act like it sometimes. You could ask my bride. But what are some of the things that are keeping us from being seen? Well, geez, Sean, you're really diving off the deep end with some of this conversation. I gave up trying to figure out what I thought was cool. And I'd ask you to just take some moments to figure out just some bullet points. But this isn't going to be solved. This isn't going to be become aware of in 20 minutes of me having a conversation with you this morning. How much time do you live avoiding your own greatness? God, this one's tough. Because part of it was, I don't know. And then another part of it was, I do know. And what am I going to do to change it? I told you there were tears this morning. How much time do we spend avoiding living in our own greatness? What is it that we fear? Part of me was being outed, right? Because what keeps coming up to me is comparison. I compare myself to all of my friends who are in network marketing, because that's what I've spent 18 years in. And what have I not done? What could I have done? What am I trying to teach on that I've not experienced? Which is why I don't teach training in network marketing. I teach training on personal undevelopment in the brain. People ask me, why don't you do more network marketing training? I said, because there's greats out there that do that. That's not my field. That's not my lane. And then it's like, does anybody really need this stuff that I teach? And I know you guys all show up here for us to have a dialogue. Again, us exchanging ideas back and forth. But these are, it's just me, my real authentic self. I wonder what the hell is going on. So this is why maybe I'm starting to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and like not go, what are you thinking? Because I need to get out of my own way. And what does the new thought or concept do to your body? To me, I'm extremely, I don't want to say I'm emotional, but because crying doesn't mean you're emotional. It just means you're awakening, right? You're eroding the ego of yourself. But as you sit with this, part of this is, right, if we've all said this phrase before, if I've got an hour to cut down a tree, I'm going to spend 45 minutes sharpening the saw. I know I have to sit more in these concepts, because for me to get to the next level of clarity, I have a unique talent that I've developed over 18 years of being able to dive right into a conversation with somebody at a very deep level, because there's safety there, there's love there, there's joy that I can bring through that, because it's not about me fixing you, the prospect, the conversation. It's I can help, I can awaken somebody without having to put myself to sleep. And I believe we all have that talent. We all have that skill. I think it's time for some of us, for me, this is me, right? The reason I do this, the best way to learn something is to do what? Is to teach it. So I need to dive deeper in myself. The fact that we're good at something, I kid around with Mason. As a goalie in lacrosse, he sometimes is in awe watching the 12th grader. Again, this thing of comparison keeps coming up. He watches the 12th grader, and when he watches the 12th grader, he goes, man, I'm not good enough. I go, well, let's go watch the 3rd grader. Well, no, that doesn't do any good. Why not? If we're going to compare, why not compare to something we're greater than? So are we comparing to our lack, or are we comparing to our greatness? So this is where it's not even in a state of comparedness. If we're scared right now, my body's extremely emotional. I'm doing everything to minimize the tears, and I got to stop it. But I want to get through. I want to get through this. Good Lord, I need to be like my grandma. How did they keep those tissues in their sleeve? Was there a pocket in there? Is that a grandma sleeve that they I need to listen more to myself. There's things that we are telling ourselves that isn't true. There's other things we are telling ourselves that, man, it's going to help us reveal our greatness. And there's something we all know we need to do right now to put ourselves into our new you. This is what I'm coming through. That's when I said, okay, I have to do this for me, because again, it's easy to sit on a side, sit on a hill and say, oh, you all are amazing. Well, I suck at some things. And so I need to get better for me. And it was just, and by doing this, here's the thing. What will I lose? I'll lose some, I don't know. I made the things that were coming up when I asked, what will I lose? Maybe I'll lose some people who follow me. Maybe I'll lose some people who are friends. Maybe I'll lose some of my identity, right? That's why I've done my best for, I don't know, I read Rhonda Britton's book, Fearless Living, over a decade ago. And it's really helped me with my, to be a better dad, better husband, courageous integrity, and in living in a very core and clear expansiveness, right? Because courageous integrity is huge. So everything I do needs to live in that state. But what will I lose? What will I lose? Will I lose some of the things that helped me get to here? And that's scary. But Einstein said it, and I kind of paraphrase it: the mind that got you here can't get you the hell out of here. So I'm going through this crumbling. I'm going through this awakening. It's scary. And, you know, somebody who's done what I've done for 20 years, and there's some unknowns, right? And I think the more we recognize the unknown, because it's our newness is in what we don't know. But soon as we recognize it, we can start to become better at it. That's what keeps coming up to me. And what beliefs can you feel are not serving you? My belief that I'm not a seven-figure income earner after 18 years, that's not served me well. You know, the funny thing is now I look and I have a team of over 5,000 people who are part of my organization that there's a part of me says I've done very little for that, but there's another part that says it all starts with one, and that's what it started with. So part of me says, okay, have I justified, have I validated? And then it's like, well, yeah, but you know, you haven't done enough. I've done what I can, where I can. I will do more, but the challenge is that the belief that that's not enough. There's a few thousand people whose lives have significantly changed, and it was because I know somebody, right? The old, hey, I got this guy, and I knew somebody that I could put somebody in touch with and connect and connect the dots, and people's lives have changed. So what part of me said, why didn't I pat myself on the back for that? There's things we've all done that are in this level of greatness. There's all things we've done that we have lived in our core that says you will be there to help people. And sometimes we've forgotten that, or we've chosen not to shine a light on it. I would encourage you in your meditations and in your awareness to be aware of that. So what do you fear of letting go? I'm going to put these PDFs. So what I'm going to do is I figured out how to put PDFs up. Again, Captain Technology over here. I figured out how to put these. I'm going to take these PowerPoint slides and put them in PDFs inside of Daily Awakening for you to be able to download them and have them as a resource if you choose to, or at least just look at them on your computer. So what are a handful of things, right, Jim Rohn, a handful of things, 5 or 6 things that you fear letting go? Mine was, the fear of letting go, one of the ones on the top was that I'm not enough. Sean, how could you say, I can hear it in my head. Are you kidding? No, I'm not kidding. That's why it shows up, because it's just there. And what is the new you when you let go? More than enough. You know, this thing about this fear of safeness, income, right? We live in a world where money needs to be exchanged for goods and services. I was reading, one of the things I'm doing with Mason is reading Wallace D. Wattles' Science of Getting Rich. I've got a workbook. You took it back up with him, but it asks these questions that I haven't answered in, again, another decade, probably 15 years. So what's the new you when you let go? And sometimes it's scary as hell when we hear what it tells us, because here's the thing my reticular activating system has exposed to me, is that when I'm doing these free coaching calls that people are signing up for, and we're spending 20 minutes together, there's this awareness that people are getting. They're starting to hear their own thoughts, and I believe I have something to do with that, just getting them calm enough and clear enough that they can actually hear their own success reveal itself. So I'd ask you to work on that. So the fear, I couldn't click the share button for almost 15 minutes when I put those slides up. Like, what kind of a phony am I going to be? And this is my ego, because I know there's this step. I know part of me is crumbling and it's holding on to it, right? How many times have we seen the video where the kid is in the pool and he's screaming because he's afraid he's going to drown, and he's paddling his butt off trying to stay awake, and somebody just goes and grabs him and says, stand up. And in standing up, he's like in this much water. There was no chance of him drowning, but he never found his footing. So that was my big fear. It's like, people are going to be like, what the hell is he doing? And then part of me goes, what the hell do you care? The sadness was, as Kyle Cease talks about, he says, you can't sit there and go, shit, I knew this. I knew this. Yes, you did, but the fear kept you from doing it. So in the knowing, we become knowing. So the sadness is that, okay, it's over. Right? Rip the Band-Aid off. And now I'm getting excited. It hasn't quite showed up in my body yet, but I am getting excited about, here it is, January 2nd, and I know I've done more for me. I hope it brings value to you. But if it doesn't, then guess what? You'll click, okay, exit, end, or whatever you do to get out of the webinar. But the excited part is that here it is, January 2nd, and I think there's more work that I have to do in the next 30 days than I've done in the last year on me and in my business and in my success. And I'm looking for the one day when it becomes normal, so that I can, again, go through this whole process again. Because I can tell you, these are things that are just popping up. With Mason, when he was a baby, when he was born, there was all of these: fear, sadness, excitement, and now it's normal to have a 15-year-old. But if we were given the chance to have another one, there'd still be it'd be this same cycle. And every time Mason goes through a change in his life, whether it's a girlfriend or whether it's stepping into high school sports, or now 9th grade going into 10th grade, this happens every moment of the day. And the faster we can recognize which stage we're in, we can then take the next step. I don't know whether maybe it was Martin Luther King or somebody who said, you don't need to see the whole staircase to take the next step. but you do need to see the next step and without trying to jump steps. So what's vulnerable to you? When does this show up for you? When can you be vulnerable with yourself? I think that's a big challenge. I know that's one that I go through on a daily basis, is because we're guys, and I can only speak from that perspective, ladies. So there's no disrespect or unhonoring yourself, but guys, we're not supposed to be vulnerable. You know, Mason giggles at me, and I don't, you probably have heard me say, when there's something sad that comes on, it's funny, because I'm watching the TV, I'm focused on the message, and I start getting very emotional, and I can see Mason sits over here and Michelle sits over here, and I can just see them first look at each other, and then I can feel them kind of giggling, because now it's like they're doing a countdown to when does daddy start crying. So, I mean, I get emotional at Hallmark card commercials, if they have those. So that was the whole scenario. Was that everything? Yeah, that was the whole everything there. So, whew, thank you for letting me get through that. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to now stop and listen, because there's going to be wisdom that I hear that can't come from anyone else except from you. So where did that sit with you? Where did that, where did you feel that? Because I can tell you, so where did I feel it as I was going through it? I felt it like in the back of my neck. And I don't know if that's because that's where my mother used to hit me when she'd say, get in that room and smack you, or what it was. But how are you feeling? Share amongst us, this community. This is where we get our greatness from. This isn't about me pontificating. This is about us now having a conversation that lets us all get better and sees ourselves for our raw self, real authentic wonder. Whew.
I moved and I said, ouch. I'm really dealing with some arthritis pain in the mornings lately. But when I start to feel vulnerable, for me, my heart rate really kicks in and I'm almost breathless. And I have found when I get in that condition, I mean, the only thing I can do is to do the thing that's making me feel that way, whether it's picking up the phone to call a person that I'm not sure how they're going to react to my phone call, you know. So I can't let that vulnerability paralyze me from going forward and taking that action. But that's what I've done a lot in the past. But this is a new day and a new me, and that's got to change.
Well, thank you, Emily, for doing that. So here's the question. As you go through this change, be aware of when you said your heart starts to race, let it be there, right? And I love that little saying, put that in there. And then recognize, be aware, it's kind of like getting over a cold. Recognize, start to take a look at when your heart starts to slow and starts to lower and starts to come back to quote normal, what's changed? Because is it coming back to the old you, or is it coming back to that new you? And to be aware of that, so that this is an awakening that you're going through. Are you getting excited to be the old you again? Be aware if you step across over into it, into the new you, so that there's this part of you that says, okay, so now we're here. So just have that conversation as you're going through that, because
good. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we can always, that's what I went through this morning. That's where the conversation I was having, literally those slides sat, you know, if you can put a post up on Facebook and it's all waiting for you to click the share button. And it took me literally 15 minutes to go, well, shit, do I need to put a different slide up? And my ego just kept going, what are you doing? This is, yes, you're going to teach it, but you're going to be exposed.
Yeah.
And and so here's the part. There's people who teach about vulnerability and they're not at all. And you're like, oh, I need to do it the way they do it. No, you need to do you the way you do you. So when I clicked that, the part of me, part of my raw wonder was, I have to do this. I have to do this for me. I have to do it for my family. So be aware that when you race to the finish line, race to the next milestone in your life. Cool. Thank you for sharing that, Emma. Thanks for being vulnerable.
Hey, Sean, I just got to ask, like, do you have my house bugged or something? Like, I'm sitting here going, this is just bizarre. But really,
Well, my question is do you have a microphone? Do you have a speaker in my house? You're telling me what to say.
I don't.
Oof.
Hey, Sean, I ran onto something.
I'm gonna say, I don't know if my computer froze. Maybe I did. I don't know. Anyway, what I want to share is, you made that comment. Sorry, my internet's being really weird this morning. You made the comment about how you felt like you hadn't done enough, and that you had 5,000 people that somehow got on your team because you shared with somebody, right? And or a few other people.
Yep.
And I've gone through that myself, when you feel like you've not done enough because you look and you see what others have done. But there was a time last year where I had to sit back and really take a look at all of these people. And I think Rick and I were actually, it wasn't last year, it was a couple years ago. We were at the front of the room, and when we had this moment of not being enough, haven't done enough, and we thought we would do so much more, but yet taking a moment, and it wasn't a prideful moment, but it was taking a moment and realizing that if we hadn't talked to that one person, none of these people's lives would have been changed that we know of, at least not through something that we had or something that we did. And that was it was my mindset. It was not being prideful about it or not being egotistical about it. It was just that realization that, hey, what I did was right. What I did was enough. And I did my part. And something I always have to remember is what I'm called to do might not be what you're called to do. And so, if your race is to do more, to run faster, to do whatever your race is, and mine is not, then I've got to be okay with what my race is. But again, going back to but don't be complacent, don't be stuck. Like, always be ready to go more. But if this is all you were to do right now, then you did enough. Look at the people you changed. And so that's been a big one for me, because I am that person who immediately goes, yeah, but you should do more. And how I'll equate it and to put it into context. I've been helping my daughter do some things over the last couple of months, I don't know why. Anyways, I just felt like, Mom, you need to go help her. And it was with her business. And she's been doing a lot of moving, seniors into different places and whatnot. And so my brain still says, I look at my 32-year-old daughter and I look at her and I go, I could do all of those things. I used to do all that. I still can. And as she's lugging all this, and then I do the same. I follow suit because my brain says, go do it. Well, my 58-year-old body is like, what are you, nuts? And now, it's off to the chiropractor because I'm trying to do things that maybe I did before that it's not my turn to do anymore. It's somebody else's turn. And so that's reflecting in my physical body right now because of my brain saying, yeah, you can still act like a 32-year-old. Go do those things, right? That was the pride and the ego with Mom saying, I can do just like you can do still. And now vulnerability is showing up going, no, you can't. This one you have to own. you just can't do that anymore. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you, Elaine. And again, I so much love you and Rick, and for all of the leadership and just the friendship and all of the ships we're in, just because it's this gathering of awareness that, again, it changes the world. So thank you for sharing that. Woof. what was I thinking? But I wasn't. I was feeling. That's how I got started with all of this morning. Anyone else? Bob, you were going to share something. Charlie's here.
Yeah, I ran into something serendipitously that might help us, might shed a little light on this issue. I ran into a guy who was talking about how about the tendency of probably all of us to commit a type 1 error, which means to come to believe something that isn't really true. And he rationalized his point of view by talking about, suppose you were a 5,000 years ago on the Delta in Africa, and you hear a little rustling in the grass, and you immediately have to assume, we've been trained to assume that something's going to go bad, so we got to react, otherwise we're lunch. So that's trained us not to take the time to stand back from all of this and say, well, okay, what's all this really about? Because if we did that, we would be lunch. So what I've been thinking about in this is that this comes down to being uncertain about things. If we're uncertain about something and we're feeling a little bit of that same anxiety about not knowing, it's probably anchors us, it's an anchor to go right back to that primitive knee-jerk response. Oh, there's something in the grass that's going to get me. So if we can, that not being the case in our current lives, if we can stand back from whatever it is that we're about to do or considering doing, that seems a little, frightening, and recognize that we don't have to respond the way we did 5,000 years ago. We don't have to make that type 1 error, which is to believe something that isn't true. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about that.
Well, Bob, one of the things is that I've learned, and what you're absolutely sharing that's so very valuable, is that our brain does operate off that programming, right? However many thousands of years ago, depending upon whatever belief you have of how we got here. But this whole part of the front part of our brain, this logic part, still is run by our survival mechanism. And that rustling in the leaves, we call it in self-talk, we call it the saber-toothed tiger, exactly what you're talking about. And that saber-toothed tiger is there, that's the fight or flight. The only difference that's happened now is because that saber-toothed tiger doesn't really exist out there, we've used everything else to make it the saber-toothed tiger, that fight or flight. And we're the only beings that if you called me, Sean, you're just the biggest a-hole, and I take that in and I get all mad at Bob Parks, Charlie, that's the same guy that at the water cooler 2 weeks from now says, hey, you know what? I saw that car, that son of a bitch that cut me off 2 weeks ago. And we're still carrying it on where the deer get scared by the wolf and they run their butt off. And 15 minutes, they're back to eating the grass going la-di-da. There's a neat thing about that. I yell at one of the dogs because they did something or they're barking, and they cower and they put their ears down and they all look like this. But 10 seconds later, they're like, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I mean, I'm envious of that ability to just let go. So you're absolutely right. And I love the way that your sophistication of helping me understand things, because I'm a knowledge kind of person. I love that type 1 error, right? Anybody that's in nursing or emergency response knows that that's a pretty big error, and it's an error, right? If that popped up on your screen, type 1 error, you go, well, I got to go fix that. So I appreciate you, Bob, for always sharing this unique vision, this unique paradigm of a similar coin. So thanks for always showing up, brother. I appreciate that. What is somebody feeling from what Bob shared, a type 1 error or this understanding or concept, or anything else that's shown up in your life you wanted to share? So here's the thing. If you're sitting there and you're feeling very vulnerable, sit with it for a second. Where are you feeling it? Where's it showing up? Is it showing up in your heart? It was funny. I've never had a dialogue with myself where the pain, the discomfort has showed up in the back of my neck, that tension, like where they talk about you need, some kind of medication, that stress tension. I'd never experienced that before. It was weird. I mean, I literally thought something was crawling around on my body. Where are you feeling it right now in your body? Sit with it for a second, because that's where it needs to break through. That's where it needs to break out. Breathe that in and then say the words, "And I love that." And just be aware of your greatness. That's your greatness revealing itself to you. That's your awareness revealing itself, because that discomfort has always been there. And it's been running at just above awareness level, right? How many of us have ever had a cut on our hand and somebody goes, "You're bleeding," and you're like, "Where? What? Oh my God, how did that happen?" How could you be cut and bleed and not know it? Well, the same way that this is happening, how can you be under this much stress and not know it? Because it's something you weren't paying attention to, right? And so I'd ask you, where is this? Where are you feeling this? Where's it showing up? Now that you said, "And I love that," where's it? What happened to it? Because I got to tell you, I sounded like a "and I love that" repeater this morning. And I'd be like, "And I love that." And then something new would show up and I'd go, "And I love that." And part of me was like, do I really love that, or am I just pissed off? And that's a program that I'm saying to try to get rid of it. So sometimes you have to sit with it.
Okay, I'll talk.
I love you, Danya.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going, I don't really want to do this. I really don't want to do this.
And
Heavy chest, feeling it there. I was telling you guys that I was doing the vision statement, and I needed to get that done. And so last night I was sitting here in my office, and I started typing, just typing how I felt, what I wanted, everything. And before I knew it, I was typing things from 35 years ago that had happened to me.
wow.
That nobody knows about except for maybe 9 people.
Oof.
And I kept typing, and it was just like flowing out of me. Things that I haven't expressed, feelings that I felt that just were overwhelming me. But the words just kept coming and coming and coming. And before I knew it, I had like 10 pages of typed wording. And at the end, I had let go.
Wow.
And I saw a future. I saw life that I haven't seen in 35 years. Then the point came where it was like, okay, they want me to email this to them, to people that I care very much about, are top notch in our company, and I'm fixing to show them something that they're not expecting to see. And I sat there for probably 10 minutes waiting to hit that send button, thinking, okay, I'm fixing to be probably about as vulnerable as I've been since I was 35 years ago. But to grow past this point, I've got to let go. I've got to let it go. And so I hit the send button, And I think every 5 seconds after I hit that send button, I was looking to see if they'd read it yet. Because I'm waiting for the response. What's it going to be? What is the response going to be to that? Scared? Me? Yes. I'm scared of what they're going to think or what they're going to say. But at the same time, this pressure, this feeling of weightlessness has occurred in my soul that has not been there in a very, very long time. So I think what you're talking about as far as being vulnerable is a huge deal. And I think every day each one of us has to strive to be vulnerable, because we do worry and think about what others are going to think and what others are going to say. And we do live our lives a lot of times on things that happened in the past that we had no control over. And we have to look at them and we have to face them square in the face and say, that's part of who I am. And that's part of the greatness, as you say, inside of me. The strength, the struggles, the pain gets us to where we are. So thank you for having this forum so we can kind of open up and share safely, with people.
Well, Donna, I applaud you. I applaud you. I applaud your subconscious. I applaud your consciousness. I applaud that part of you that's awakening, because sometimes it's just like a very vulnerable little seed, a little seedling that it just breaks through the ground, and now all of a sudden it's there. And that vulnerability, one of the things that I remember Wayne Dyer saying is that one time he took a tomato seed and he tried to cut it open to see how many tomatoes were in it, and there were none. So then the next thing that he did was, when he was in his foster home, his adopted home, is that when she would plant the tomatoes out back, he would pull up the little seedling to see if there were any tomatoes in the roots. And it's not there. It's its essence. So I appreciate you. And there's a part of you need to reward, saying thank you and I love you to, because for you to do this, from us just doing this, right, 35 years, and in a very short time, you've gone from like this to like really deep. So congratulations to you. And all of that has been inside of you. And until we let that go, it's kind of like having our closet just completely full, or, at some point there's no more place for our crap. And we got to take it to the curb. And that 10 pages that shocked you was there. It was always there. That's why you didn't even have to think about typing it. It just flowed. So congratulations. I mean, I got the chills the entire time you're saying this. So thank you for being this huge example of a human, huge example of greatness, to give and inspire other people who are here, who you will have no idea how much you've given them courage and credit. So I love you and thank you for that.
Good morning, Sean. I just want to share something too. And Danya, thank you for, my God, opening up and sharing. You're amazing. I'm telling you right now, when you're talking about this letter thing, I did the same thing before Christmas. And I sat down at my laptop and I started typing, and I sent it to, and it was things that happened to me years ago too. I was abused and whatnot. And it was, like, I'm not going to sit there because it's like, but anyways, I wrote in this letter, some things. I wrote it to Emily too. And it was really cool anyways. And then it was like, then pointing them like to basically set them free as well too in this letter. I sent it to my brothers and sisters and to my mother. Well, my mother rejected me, like in regards to that. My brother, the abuser, returned like the letter, returned to sender, addressee, didn't want to read or whatever, you know what I mean? And I laughed because I thought to myself, you know what? I know my brother read it because he read my mom's, but they're going to know that truth. Now it's stirring in them. I've done my part with what I was supposed to do. And now I just let it go because, and I don't say that so, I don't mean it to sound so like, oh yeah, it's all done, boom, boom, all I'm saying is that I knew I was directed to do that. I don't do that stuff, but I did. And it was sent out, and the reactions I got from it, all it was just, let's just start a conversation. Let's try to stop this divide that's happening. Let's stop this bleeding that's happening in this family. But like I say, got rejected. One was returned to sender. I thought to myself, you know what? I know the message got there. I know that it's in there now, and that's between them and what they believe, right? So just know that when you hit that send, and I know, and I was like, oh my God, should I have done that? Oh my God. After I mailed them all out, stamped them and mailed them like hard copy, boom, sent them. And it was like, oh my God, oh my God. Then it was just like, okay, God, oh my God, thank you. And I love that, I love it. And it's like, so it's just that release. Now it's in their court. It has nothing to do with me now. I know that was a release for me, a huge release for me. And even my mother, she said, some of the things she said to me was not very nice, but it was just like, but it's her fear, right? That's her fear talking. And I get it. Thank God for these calls, because this is a safe place that we can come and we can share these things. These things were even happening before we started doing these calls. And it's like, and talk about the crumbling and the crying. Oh my God, I've been doing more of that lately than I even care to even think about. But I recognize and think, yeah, that is a crumbling, but there's stuff that's fallen away from me. So I can find my greatness. So my greatness can be seen, I guess. Danya, thank you for sharing. You are amazing. You did the right thing. You are awesome. I love you. Way to go. Kudos, kid. Way to go. Praise God.
Good morning. My name is Linda Moore. I'd like to share briefly. I'm being really vulnerable here. Years ago, I had, a thought of, and I kind of jotted things down. And years ago, this came from the head, but it has moved to my heart now. And it's what I call a POD, a pod, which is a seed. And I had to get to the point, and it's taken me years, and I haven't arrived there yet, but prioritize, organize, and delegate. And I had to put what my experiences that were painfully and fearfully put into me, organize them, and delegate them. And right now I would call letting go as delegating, because like Danya said, some of the things that are part of her, it's still part of her, but you're delegating it to a different place. At least that's how I look at it. And that's a seed that will forever be a part of us, whatever our experience was. And for me, I'm so grateful for this group, because it has moved to my heart, and it's a safe place. And some of the things that I'm learning more and more about myself and getting my new normal is, we have to know our own value, or at least try to discover it on a daily basis, and we have to decide whether or not, at least I have to decide whether or not I'm going to add it to my value or not, or delegate it to a certain place in my life. So I really appreciate Linda and Danya's share, because I can so relate. We just have different verbiage, maybe, but and I'm very, very thankful, Sean, that you made available to us this forum, so we can bounce things off of each other. The gentleman that spoke, I didn't get his name, but I value what he had said. I value what everybody has shared. And so once I discover and decide where I'm going to add it to part of my life, because it is part of my life. You know, uh, it, it it's just this is only going to add to all of us. So I hope that makes sense.
Linda, that was absolutely, here's the thing that I love about the community that's showing up here, the souls that are showing up here, is that we get to share things from a perspective that it isn't mine. And that's been my whole desire. Kathy said to me, you've got a greatness, share some ideas, then let us dive in and eat it and chew it up and figure out how it digests for us, how we get to pick from that menu. So what you shared, I mean, I put it in the comments, prioritize, organize, delegate. I love that. And that's going to mean something to somebody. So there's something inside of all of us that we can share. Because here's what I know. Here's what I do know. On this call, as far as I know, there's 2 guys. And the rest are powerful, powerful women. And there's no way we can ever grasp how your brains operate. I love watching this one guy who he's the funniest guy I know, but he talks about our brain. We try to get to our nothing box as guys. But women, everything is connected. That's why when Danya started typing, she wound up with 10 pages of notes from one idea. I type one thing and I wind up with 2 slides that I change on a regular basis. But the whole point is that we need people like you, Linda, to share this stuff. And everybody that's on here, when it sings your heart and zings your soul. But this environment was created because you were looking for it. I just happened to be a damn good listener and said, I need to do something for us. And this is the us that continues to show up. So thank you for being here, Linda. I love you and I appreciate you. And this is just, I got to tell you, so you see me like pushing here on the sides. The discomfort that showed up since we've started talking about this, it's like in my jaw. These are in my muscles. It's not in my teeth, so it's back here. I'm not clenching my teeth, but the pain that I'm feeling, because these are the jaws, these are the muscles I use to talk. Whatever it's trying to do, whatever part of me is trying to do to stop me from moving my mouth, my cake hole. It's very evident right now what's showing up. So thank you everyone for sharing. Who else is being inspired, has something they want to share? And Linda, the gentleman that you were, that's Robert Parks, Bob Parks. We call him Charlie because we haven't seen him yet. Go ahead. There's Leslie.
Here I am. Okay, so first of all, Sean, your vulnerability, that was a roll off the tongue slow one. That is what's going to make this group continue to grow, which watching it, we have 17 people on here. That's really cool because we started with what, 3? Amazing. And people are going to keep coming to this because of the power that it's helping all of us work with. It's very cool. So thank you, as usual. I always thank you. But the other thing that's really interesting is like, I woke up at, I don't know, 5 after 3, angry. So, you know, I thought, okay, so I'll lay here and I'll do the meditation thing. I couldn't get there this morning. So it's interesting that you sound like you kind of woke up sort of in the same place. And the other thing that is so astounding to me is, one, the tightness in my traps is like that it's there because of the place that I woke up in my mind this morning, which I have no idea why, other than it's because I went to bed in a happy place. You know, I fell asleep listening to Abraham Hicks. How can you not be in a happy place, right? But yet that battle that I continually tell you all that I'm fighting with every day, that's just got to be it. So I have some work to do on myself. But all of us coming on here and showing that in some level, we all are dealing with the same shit at a different place. Like the fact that, Sean, you are so much more evolved mentally and spiritually than I am, but yet you're still dealing with your own deep shit. That's really cool. And that we're all here as a community to work through it and learn from each other. The power, Sean. It's amazing. So yeah, I got some deep work to do today because I got to get rid of this stuff that's in my shoulders. Yeah. So there we go. That's Leslie today. And Bob, you actually might want to talk to, I forget who it was, the LG Aristo. You might need to have a conversation with her about what she's kind of going with, kind of like what we did the other day. Just sharing.
And so that's the neat thing, folks, because inside of Daily Awakening, if you're not there, get inside of that Facebook group, Daily Awakening, where you can reach out to each other and private message each other, because this is about a movement. This isn't about a guru or one person having a great idea. This is about a movement of people, because every one of us is a teacher. Every one of us has grown up and has our own realizations. And as soon as we find there's a level of comparison, a level of compatibility, that it's just, we need to be challenged to awaken our greatness. So Leslie, I know I can always count on you to, and sometimes you may share just because you want to make me happy. I don't know that that's the case, but I know sometimes you do share in your own joy and in your own love, and I'm always grateful for that. So thank you for that. You always inspire me. And I'm seeing some messages of people, Rhonda Bird says, I was going through exactly this morning in my head. Part of this is because I think, again, there's a collective energy here that allows us to just do more, be more, and have more. So I want to thank you, everybody, for being here. And there's Kayla. Hi, Kayla, my love. How are you?
Hi. Do I have time to say something?
Yes, of course you have time.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And like I always say, I guess this thing has helped everybody, but I just want everybody to know how much every morning I'm a new person. Every morning my life changing. And thank you, Sean, for crying. And thank you, everybody, for showing those type of emotions, because I thought I wasn't right. Of course, like I said one time, I thought people from the United States are cold and they don't cry because they are first world country and they already cried many years ago, and third world country now crying and they don't know how to not cry. And thank you for crying, because now I know you and me are same human beings and go through the same things. And with everybody else, Leslie, Linda, Charlie, I don't see if you cry. You sound real strong, but I also can hear emotions, so thank you. And well, on the other ladies too, thank you for what you guys say every day. And yes, I feel I got so much things in my mind, and when Sean talk, I have like set of things like I always tell you guys, I always write what I'm going to say. But then when a lot of what everybody talk is like, well, I got so much things now, and it's so much things in my mind, and then I stop writing now, and like, no, I just talk, and whatever comes in my mind that moment, I will say, and stop reading. And yes, I feel, I don't know how to say that in English, the word we're talking today, vulnerable in Spanish.
Hey, vulnerable.
Because in English I can't, there's too much word. So I'm actually kind of confused exactly of what that word really means, but I can understand. But sometimes I feel like I'm so much that work that I don't know. But one thing I know is that a lot of time I feel like I act too much like a kid, and when I go through those things, it's like I feel vulnerable because it's like it's inside me. That's me. Like, and when I see the kids and I say, shoot, I am like them, and I do act like them. But at the same time, when I'm around big people, then I feel like like that's not right, and that's when I feel bad. And that's the fighting that I have with myself, because I love being that way. I love to jump. I love to do stuff that I think kids do. But then when people start to talk about me, it's like I just protect myself and just hide. And I think that's something to do with vulnerable, right? I'm not sure, but I think that's something to do with that. And I don't know. I mean, sometimes I don't know what to do. You know, it's like with today meeting, it's like we all go through things like that, and we all cry, and we all feel bad, and we all have our own fights. But I don't know. That's all I can say, and I really don't know what to say today. And then you said something, Shun, that I wrote it somewhere here. Crying mean you're not emotional. Crying mean that you are awakening. So I'm awakening every day, because every day I'm crying.
Yo también, porque cuando llorando, eso no es un emocional, tú no tienes fuerza. Eso porque un río es más fuerte del ¿cómo se dice? Roca. So, el río es más fuerte de la roca, porque un río corte el roca, porque eso que pasa con nosotros. So it's when we cry, we're eroding the rock of what people have told us to be. And a lot of times that rock is bullshit. So that's what I feel is eroding with me.
Confusion is the gateway to understanding. If you're sure about everything, you won't learn much of anything new. So love your confusion.
Confusion is the gateway. Repeat that, Bob.
Confusion is the
Write that one. Confusion is
the gateway to understanding.
Gateway at la puerta.
Okay. Well, thank you, Charlie. I thank you. You say you love me. Thank you. Or you say you love, I'm confused, something like that. But you say love, so thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I love you all. Oh my gosh. Here's the funny part. Part of me just said, oh my God, what happens if one day they don't all show up for me? That was my ego showing up. But I'm like, I am like so in love with everybody on this call and every soul that's awakening and the part of you that's showing up. I mean, Bob and I have only had a couple of conversations in our lifetime. They've been fun conversations, but for him to show up here and constantly, and all of us, show our wisdom and share with it, this is like the greatest thing ever that I've ever done. So thank you for feeding my psychological income. So there you go, folks. You know, the funny thing is that as we continue to evolve, I think it's the people that we invite there that continue to show up to this. Part of the biggest fear might be is when they see how this community responds and reacts and supports each other. it could be an overwhelming to a new person. So as we invite people to this community, just let them know that we're just absolutely misfits, and misfits need not apply. They're already accepted. So it's the coolest thing ever. So thank you, everybody, for your joy. Thank you for your sadness. Thank you for your awakening. Thank you for your you at a cellular level. Thank you for your hundreds and thousands of years of history that run through your brain. And I love watching this evolution and this evolving of each of us. And thank you for helping me get to become a better dad, better husband every day. That's it for today, folks. We'll see you where? At the next event. Love you all. Bye for now. Thank you, everyone.